Hi, Derek. Welcome
Hey,
back.
how's it
Here we
going?
are again.
We're here again, ladies and gentlemen. The lawyer, the therapist. Today's November 8th, 2024. And I think Gina comes with a lot of updates. We have a lot of new information. Tell them we're talking about Sarah Boone. To let them know what we're doing today.
Derek, Sarah Boone took us off guard. This was too fast for everybody. Case was too fast. Everything run into speed. Everyone was saying such a good things about the judge that make it. He kept on with everything
Yeah,
on
yeah.
time. It was.
That's a good trial, for us when we
Mhm.
want to get through a difficult trial. We want it to go very smooth, very expeditiously. That's what the judge wants to do. The fact that the trial went that fast, I'm not actually surprised about that. That is actually, I can say that it must have been a good trial, no matter what the outcome was.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
I think we go back to some of the first videos or video that we covered on this. Once we saw that video of, rest in peace, the gentleman that was deceased in the suitcase,
Jorge.
you know what I said? Guilty as charged. So
Mhm.
maybe I should have played the lotto since I kind of predicted the future. But I think it was the obvious in this case. So,
Yes.
what do you want to touch on? What is it that, some of the last things on this case that we find to be interesting, right? That I
Yes.
think we talk to the people about.
Yes. So I just want to add that I know that you're the expert on it, but when trials goes this way too, we have to, make some applause too to the lawyers and the prosecutor because it couldn't happen if they don't follow everything that it should be following. So we have a couple of things today. Very interested about the case that we're going to be able to react to it and get your insight about it, and I'm going to provide my insight in this process. So today I want to go over the suitcase testimony. That is something when Sarah Boone it's asked to by the prosecutor, she's asked to explain how it happened. So that we were wondering like how did he came into there? How did she close it up? Everything about that. Also, we're gonna have their point of view, right? The batter syndrome that they were using as the defense, we're going to see her testimony and her proof and evidence of all those domestic violence that apparently she suffered with Mr. Jorge. And then for last, I want to show you something that that you couldn't sleep because, and me too, because what we observed in the crime, like how it happens, we're gonna see Jorge in videos. Now we're gonna get in touch with Jorge, who he was, because he's gonna be alive, part of the video. We
Wow.
can see him, and we're gonna be able to connect with that guy and see how he suffered. I think that happened in Rebuttal. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but when it came the rebuttal part,
Okay.
that I think that it's when the um that the
Prosecutor.
people that no, the people that make the decision.
Jurors, the jurors. Yeah, the
The
jurors.
jurors, I think that's when they said she's guilty as charged, as
Yeah,
you say.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that they make that verdict right there. So you're ready. You're ready to
Yeah, let's
start.
get into it. Let's put a wrap. Let's put the final touches on the Sarah Boone saga. It's definitely a case to be remembered. I know the community out there was tuned in. So let's give it our final touch. Let's go
Yes.
for it.
And I want to remind something to the people. Please like and subscribe. Help us with that algorithm. If we get to those likes and subscribe, we get up to the algorithm, and other people can watch us too and enjoy our content, and we can learn from them too. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me share here. So we're gonna start with. Let's start with that testimony. And it could be triggering. I just want to let that everybody know about that too.
Why is this guy having such a hard time opening up the briefcase? This guy's nervous in there. Wait, that's the prosecutor?
That's the prosecutor.
Come on, guy. Well, why is he having such a hard time opening up the briefcase?
I think that's a trick. I mean, that's to make your juror know. Look how much of a job it was to open this. How much it took for her.
Where Mr. Torres' head was and how his body was positioned in the suit, if you don't mind. All right, and then is it fair to say his feet are kind of down here, which would be the front left corner from their perspective in the jury box? And then his knees are kind of tucked up towards his face.
If I remember correctly, yes, that's the position.
Okay. All right. Can you help me understand how it was that his zip is shut? Can you show us where he left an opening that his hand got out of it?
Would it be easier to put it down here?
I didn't want to make you go down there. If you're happy doing that, I like it.
Hold on. Does she need to be more involved? Yes, agreed. He's going to be manipulating it.
What do you want her to do? Just demonstrate how she zipped it shut.
But you need to remember what it was at.
This side.
Just paperclip was on when this event occurred. When we pulled the suitcase out earlier, the paperclip was not attached. And now the prosecutor's attached the paperclip. We don't know if that's the way it was attached.
It's not even a paper.
We don't know if that's the proper way that it was attached. But he's asking her now to pull.
Is there an objection?
Yes.
Approach.
That's the defense attorney that was just talking.
That was the defense attorney that was talking.
Oh
Yes.
man, I didn't recognize him. I thought it was a younger guy from when we saw it, but
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, while I'm watching that, it's definitely very effective.
Mhm.
Obviously, I want you guys to know that prior to the prosecutor being able to do those theatrics, because as a defense attorney, we call those theatrics by the prosecution, and there was a hearing before this part of the trial where the defense attorney was objecting to this. It'll be standard to object to the prosecutor to use that. Now, of course, the judge ruled correctly. I think that if the judge doesn't allow that, it is common to bring things from the scene of the crime or bring models of different things, of scenes of the crimes to try to, use as demonstrative evidence. What is technically called in front of the court, the demonstrative evidence is very effective. So right there, when the defense attorney is, you hear him make a small comment about the paper clip or whatever he clipped thing for the zipper. I like what he did right there because he disrupted the momentum. If you feel everybody was kind of leaning in, trying to, where's this going? Where's this going? So I really like the fact that the defense attorney did that. And basically, obviously it doesn't matter about the clip, which way it is, but maybe he can have the jurors hear something about, hey, is this really the way it was when it happened? But that's not going to do anything for a defense as we know it, but just kind of commenting on the defense strategy and the details of what you're really looking at there.
That's a good observation. And the fact that I would, me as a common person, I was like, he's interrupting because of that. Does that make any sense? Like, he want to make sure that everybody knows that there was a clip or what. I think that's going to harm her in some way. But now that you say that, you got it there, because it took me off when it happened too, when I was watching this. So on my notes, Derek, and my observations about Sarah Boone, something that caught my attention is that, first of all, she wants to take again control of the environment. She wants the suitcase to be down. She asked it to be down, even when the prosecutor said, I'm making it easier for you, so you don't have to go down. No, she said, I want it down. That's the way it was. So she also made sure to tell, this is the way it was. Every time she make these type of comments, I think that she really enjoy that moment.
Really?
I think that's when it comes those sadistic kind of thoughts, when this happened. This is the suitcase in where your loved one died. So you get what I'm saying? Like, you get to those details, you control that, you like kind of reliving that, but she has no emotion doing that. So those were my observation when it comes to what happened in this part of the testimony. So let's keep looking how she keeps demonstrating what happened in like what happened. Okay.
Can we see how it was that the two zipper parts were positioned when you say that Mr. Torres was able to get his hand up? If you want me to do it, I'm fine, I'll take your direction.
Look here. So it's not this part here. This was right here.
Okay. About right there now?
Sure.
Okay. I assume this one was much closer. It's not over there? Where do
You asked me where I zipped it.
when you say that it was zipped shut, show it.
Or
When you're done zipping it shut and he's inside of it, where are the zipper?
Just tell me what set up.
it was the corner. I mean, here it's not. Yes, this one was already from what I can remember. That's how he was cutting with his hand out. It was like this from the corner.
Okay, good. Thank you. You can return your seat. Did you ever change the position of those zippers once you put it in that position?
I did not.
And so once he was zipped into there, there's some amount of time that you don't remember specifically before you start taking the 2-minute video, correct?
Yeah.
And then that's when you say what you say, and that's when he says what he says. We've all heard it, correct? And then between there and that second video of the 22 seconds length, it's at this point where he's beginning to get angry. And then that's when you take the baseball bat that's in evidence, and your testimony is start poking him with the end of it.
Did you say this was the second video?
Between the two videos, that's when you started hitting with the bat because he was getting angry and trying to escape, correct?
Right, I was not hitting him. I was.
Okay. Did you ever hit him with the bat while he was outside of the suitcase?
No.
So each time that he is hit with the bat through this suitcase, and that's what leaves the marks on him, because you didn't hit him with the bat outside the suitcase, correct?
Yeah.
No, that's okay. Okay, speak for itself. And then you take the second video and you go upstairs and go to bed, correct?
I went upstairs and went to make a phone call.
Okay.
And then I fell asleep.
All right. And at the point in time when you left and went upstairs, he was still inside the suitcase, correct?
Correct.
Was he still asking for you and calling your name? Did you say shh to him again? Did you tell him that this was his problem, it's on you again?
Don't remember.
Did you do anything to help him escape from the predicament that you zipped him up in?
No.
No other questions.
Tell me, Derek, what you have, because I have a couple of questions for you here.
Well, the first thing that I noticed is that she's been in jail. She hasn't been doing drugs. You can tell she's gained some weight, from the first video that we ever saw her on the body cam. What you see now, like that is the difference. I've seen it with some of my own clients that get arrested, that are heavy drug users. You see them a couple of months later while they're in jail, they've detoxed, they're no longer using drugs. And, to me, it looks like a whole totally different woman in terms of, just her appearance. But, the prosecution was very sharp there. The questions were very direct, right, straight to the point. It's pretty much a slam dunk case at this point. Nothing makes sense from what they show on the videos and the camera, on the phone camera, to just a simple way of her describing zippering the suitcase or not. So what I hear there is a straightforward prosecution. I wish that I would have heard an objection by the defense attorney after 2 or 3 questions in a row that were just one nail after the other in the final coffin of Sarah Boone that deserves to be 9 feet under the ground right now. So great job by the prosecution there. That's what I saw. Now, I was interested to hear from you on your reaction to her physical movements, her twitching of the face, her just the way, just picking up on her reactions. Tell us a little bit more about that. What popped out for you?
What I observed is that she makes a lot of blinking. If you notice, she was doing a lot of blinking like this. Mostly when people do that is because they want to stay focused, because they know they trying to control the track. So you try to maintain your focus, maintain your control. So she probably perceived that, oh my God, I'm screwed here. Like this guy is coming after me. So that's what I gathered from her, nonverbal behavior and her movement with her eyes, her twitching again. It's going to come from that part of saying, I'm screwed. He got me here. I need to maintain control. Because keep in mind, I know that I say this a lot, but that's the truth with Sarah Boone. She wants to have control. So all about her, it's about control. Even the smallest thing that happened in her life, like this is not small, but
Yeah.
just moments like that. So that's what I gather from, her observation and her body, her body movement and how
Yeah.
she was even answering. Like, if you also notice, she was calm. There's a component that you said she's clean now, but you remember when she was in the other video, she was screaming, she was making all this, overreacting, theatrical,
Yes.
scene there. And here she's more calm. So I wanted to ask you something. I know that the defense was helping her sipping the suitcase. How do you see that? Do you think that was helpful for her, or 'cause I don't know how to take it?
I mean, I don't think, if it was in any way designed, if I got to think about it on the fly, was it an indirect way to show the jurors that it's not that easy to close this briefcase or this luggage, because, and then look, we need to even help her do it, but the thing is that the reason why I don't think if that was designed more than, I think everybody was struggling with the damn briefcase and suitcase at one point. So if it was designed by the defense attorneys to help her, the only thing I can see is maybe trying to signal to the jurors that it's not that easy to close his luggage. Never mind with a human being in there. That's obviously, supposed to be like, not letting it happen. So maybe they did try to design that, but really what I saw was a mess. Nobody could open up the luggage. It was nobody did a good job with it. I think the prosecutor could have done better with the luggage, but he made his point. Again, just another dagger, and was the final coffin for that lady.
So before passing to the last video to close this testimony for her, remember too that what she said was that Mr. Jorge was the one who he went into the suitcase and he closed it. So if I would be a juror, what I would be thinking is that if it's this too hard to close, how is it that Mr. Jorge came inside of the luggage and the
There you
suitcase
go.
and closed it? So I think they let it happen because they want to prove like he couldn't go inside and close it himself.
Yeah, I don't think the defense attorneys weren't thinking about that, because look, your perspective, like if you're a juror, if I'm a defense attorney, I hear that perspective. Even if I think about this, I feel like that perspective will come out and they wouldn't be doing what they did. But I think, look, at that point of the case, there's no saving this lady. At this, the defense attorneys, the luggage part, I think they understand that she's gone. It didn't get any better. Her testimony wasn't any better. Do you believe her or do you not believe her? I mean, when you heard her answer at the end, when the prosecutor says, "Hey, so what did you say to her? Did you say to him also, this is on you? Did you tell him shh again?" And when she said, I don't remember. You tell me, what is your reaction as a juror? Do you believe her?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I think that's the obvious. That's at that point. So,
yep.
Let's
Okay.
see the video.
Let's close this part.
Just ask you the question that you poked him, and you didn't poke him. You poked every time you poked him hard with the bat. He was inside the briefcase, the suitcase. But you remember when he put his hand out? Did you not hit him in the hand outside the suitcase? Okay. That was the only time the bat touched Mr. Torres' body outside the suitcase. It was when you hit him with a hand. But all the other injuries were with you poking him pretty hard. I mean, you bruised your hand, correct? Doing that. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay, so that's when her testimony ends about what happened in related to the suitcase. Derek, I was waiting for you. And this last line, I don't know, as a prosecutor, I mean, as a juror, that line of question, I think it was, for me, it was like, damn, this lady was so mean, because something that it was exposed there is that she said that he was trying to go out, right, with his hand. She got scared and she hit him with the bat. So he's doing this line of question, make and even say you got bruises from hitting him. And I'm like, what do you say, Derek? I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know why she's, the prosecution did an incredible job. I mean, I'm a little bit at loss for words in the concept where everything was admitted to, like everything was already pretty much, confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the compelling evidence to get to the point for the prosecution to be able to, without a doubt, say even your own hands were bruised by hitting him with a bat. I mean, that means this crime was just a heinous crime. It was one of the worst things. I was just thinking in my head, where does Sarah Boone fall in the top 10 of craziest ways, most cruel ways to kill another human being? I mean, she's got to be up there. One day maybe we'll do a list like that. I mean, this is mind-boggling. The evidence was so compelling, so obvious. I mean, the lady at one point was hitting him with a bat. I mean, when I told you that I couldn't sleep, that's only when I knew that she zippered him in. This is the first time I hear that she was hitting him with a bat when he was in the briefcase. My soul hurts. You lose a lot of hope for humanity. I wish I didn't know this part, but here we are. Here we are. Something for everybody out there in the public, everybody to know that this is happening all around you too. Something to be compelled of. There are people, there are things, there are some evil things that are happening. Rest in peace to the gentleman. This is just incredible.
It is incredible, and that was the her testimony. The last questions came from the defense lawyer, so that's where the story kind of ends about how it happens in the suitcase. So let me give you the
let me say one more thing. I felt that she was very volunteering for this whole thing. It goes back to what you said from day one about her wanting, it's all about her, wanting the attention on her. The way she went about this is like she was forming her own movie script. When this hits the documentary or this hits the movies, this part of the movie, I mean, she's a star. She's just answering, giving the information. She wanted to make it, controversial, because really she could have just. But remember what I said too from day one. She was too much. So I think you nailed it on the head. I think your evaluation, your expertise coming here, telling us about what you picked up with her conduct, with her, the things that she was doing and saying. Now to me it all comes together. You nailed it on the head. Absolutely, the way she was at the end, just spilled out like she was center stage. This is it's deep. That's very deep.
Seems that she's enjoying it. So let's turn around a little bit and think about her now. Like, what is her story? Let's do like a little bit of an open minding here. I know we got already, entire evidence. I'm not saying for you to change, but let's see her side now. I want to show you more, some part of her own testimony of how was her relationship with Mr. Jorge when she was victim of domestic violence, and you're going to be able to see even pictures of what happened to her. So let's look, this part also. I think that it was compelling.
You won't believe how old.
Hey, so okay, yeah.
Leah Thompson, you look even better in person than on screen.
No, it's good. Were you able to hear the video good? I feel like I couldn't hear the video, when she was talking. Can you hear it good on your side?
When she was talking en el otro video, el primero.
Like this one, like right now, when you do this YouTube video, I felt like there was times where I could barely hear it. So I was wondering, I was like, oh, I don't know if you could hear it better, but I'm sure, to make sure the video is good.
Sí, yo lo estaba escuchando. Hubo una parte que empezó bajito y yo lo subí, pero honestamente no te sé decir si.
Okay, just pay attention. Be mindful of that because I think that I was hearing like go away.
Ok, déjame poner esto. Ok, voy.
Hold on. Okay.
Ok, una, dos.
Hold on, wait. Another thing. Let me ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
Look, when I'm looking at the camera like this, does it look like I'm looking up? Where should I be looking? So like this.
Ahí están mirando la cámara. I feel like you're looking at me.
But does it look like I'm looking too up or it looks fine? Like should
It
I be
looks
looking?
fine.
Okay. Dale. Okay, great. Let's go.
Mira otra vez a ver. Yeah, no, it looks like you're looking at the
Okay.
camera. Tú sabes, como
Okay.
si me estuvieras mirando a mí.
Okay, great.
Okay. So going 1, 2, and 3. Start.
Is it fair to say that when Jorge Torres is sober, he doesn't know about this?
No.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that every time that he's intoxicated or every time that you're hit by him or harmed by him, it's when he's intoxicated?
Yes.
As a result, when he's drinking, does it change your outlook?
Yes.
Could you explain that to me?
I'm gonna
I'm
put
always
it in
fearful.
normal motion.
Paranoia.
Why?
Because I try to protect and defend myself for fear something happens at the last ultimate second.
But you're always that way, fearful. Is it because of these prior incidents?
Absolutely.
Do you try to placate him?
All the time.
What do you mean?
With the puzzles and the painting and feeding the ducks across the way at the pond, listening to music, trying to go for a walk on the trail, anything that I possibly can. I told you I was running out of things to entertain him with.
Why do you think Jorge? What bothers him?
Sustained.
Does he tell you?
Sustained.
As a result of how he behaves towards you in that intoxicated state, how were you feeling the night of this event?
Actually, that's the answer. Overall.
Extremely nervous, anxiety galore, just, I can never relax.
When he's drinking.
Yes.
And the state of intoxication that he was at the time of this event, is that the state that scares you the most?
The tone, yes. There's a lot of alarms and red flags that go on throughout the day, or night, or whenever it is that we are drinking.
Sustained.
Tell us about that. How that heightens, does that heighten your sense of safety?
At all times.
But especially when he's drinking?
Oh, yes, all the time.
And then his mood?
Yes, it depends on what mood he's in that day.
Well, do you have like a sixth sense of how he's doing?
Yes, I knew George very well.
Sustained.
Can you tell us what you mean by that? Sixth sense, or knew him very well?
I guess you could say that I was trained by fear with him. Just, it wasn't fun anymore when we would drink and we would hang out on the back porch. It wasn't fun anymore because I knew inevitably that something was going to happen to me one way or another.
Now I have to comment here. if you let me, interrupt for a few seconds here, I got to say, look, Sarah Boone, these people were going through, not the normal type of relationship. You know, uh, I think it's safe to say that the things that she's saying that's happened to her while the gentleman was drinking and they obviously used drugs and things like that. I believe that she's telling the truth in the sense where it's where there's drug and fueled mental health issues. Her reaction, somebody's reaction to things that have been happening to them. I believe that she had multiple episodes of subject to some sort of abuse or conduct while he was intoxicated. I don't think it was denied, or that the gentleman himself was just like her in the sense of drinking alcohol or worse, or using drugs. Now, without a doubt, what we do know, and time after time, in all sort of different type of cases, the use of alcohol is the number one resultant of violent conduct. So, it's not a far stretch that if we can show evidence and we have enough to show that the person was a heavy alcohol user, then it's not a far stretch to connect to that it could be a lot of violence resulting from the alcohol use. So her testimony is compelling there. What happens in the court of law with those jury instructions that go to the jurors, the law that applies, unfortunately, these past occurrences are not a complete defense, maybe a mitigating factor, but as we know, the way that she, even if at this point you want to slide it over a little her way and say, man, everybody's going to snap at a certain point. Anybody could only take but so much abuse to a certain extent. Unfortunately, we get to the point where we realize, but the way that she went about it is almost so cruel and so shocking that it takes away, I think, any mitigation. At the end of the day, to say it in regular words, the jurors feeling bad for her, I think that takes it all away. But let's keep it going here.
Yes, what I'm going to do is that you heard a little bit that I want you to hear from her about the abuse that she suffered, right? How it happens, how she was feeling about it. But let's see a little bit about the pictures. Now you're going to be able to see what she said Mr. Jorge did to her. So for the people and us to have the same sense and not go over the entire video, that they can watch it in Court TV and other programs that they put it there. I'm just going to be skipping so you guys can see the picture of what was happening in her relationship.
You remember this occurrence?
I don't, it was so often.
You don't remember a specific date,
I don't.
but you're sure that that's you?
Yes.
Is that the injuries that what's the injury to the rib cage?
I don't remember specifically. These may be the pictures. So when we used to go up to his brother's house, one of his brothers and his
Sustained.
Do you know what happened to? Did George cause these injuries?
Yes.
Or were y'all both drinking at that time?
I don't remember.
I'm just going to stop a little bit for you guys to see. You see that she moved her lips when she was not agreeing with that objection. I think that what's going up in her mind is that she was feeling that her lawyer was not doing a great job. So she has this grandiose type of personality trait that she thinks that she's perfect, that everything you're the one who doesn't do great. That's why she she couldn't get along with the other lawyers. So I think when she was doing that movement with her lips and all that, it was because she, you know, she was thinking to herself, hey, start doing it right. You see her now we're able to see like some of the marks.
Caused by Jorge Torres. And during the same incident, is this
The one in the ribs that she alleged.
is that an injury or bruise to your rib cage area? And your arm?
And let's see the other ones, Derek, look.
Okay.
Sure, the paint one.
Is that a depiction of the murder?
What's that?
Those are more marks from him apparently abusing her physically.
Yeah.
Mhm. This is another time where she's in the hospital because of the beating from him.
Wait, that happened?
Yes, that's what
How did that happen?
he punched her and threw her, like he pushed her.
Oh, she cut herself?
Yeah. There's another picture in where they were arguing and she apparently has like a soup and he hit her and she burned her leg.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's what she's alleging.
You know, this is really bad. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
No, due to the injury,
What a tragedy. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. Because you know what? Let me comment here, my reaction, and I know this is what we're doing here. It's hard to sit here. Look at this. It's hard to sit here or even as a juror, let's say, and judge somebody because these events, right? What's happening to her in these pictures, for her, it could be a sense of extreme, happenings, fears. Some people could handle this stuff better than others. While I may say, "Oh man, a black eye is not enough to kill somebody," but maybe that's me in a regular mental state. Somebody with an altered state of mind is going through those type of things. Who's to say that she didn't feel that she had to eventually just protect herself or eventually feel that this is the way she was going to retaliate? I mean, the tragedy here is that all around she's obviously subject to some abuse, and she was still part of it. This is a good opportunity to talk and give information to the public at large. Women or men that are being subject to domestic violence, should help right away, right? I feel like there's cracks in the system, in the mental health world, in the domestic violence world, where I myself, do defend people in these cases or represent people in these type of domestic violence injunctions that happen in court. But this is a good opportunity to really bring awareness to what fell apart here. And what fell apart here is that, obviously she wasn't cognitive enough, or even the people around them were, cognitive enough to, realize what was really happening and report this to the right places and have the right intervention. She's subject to domestic violence, drugs, alcohol, and somebody dies. This is too common in our community. So I think this is a very important time to acknowledge that and hopefully, also take this message out of this case, not just the controversy, but the fact that this is very common. What was happening behind the controversial death is happening in a lot of households. So, there's always resources in your community to be able to, get help if you're going through this.
And I'm going to share some resources in the description, in the comments description. So if anybody is suffering from any domestic violence, they need help, they have the resources there that can be helpful. So something, Derek, that's why they were using battered woman or person syndrome. I would like to very short give a little bit about what it is. And it's about that. It's when you suffer a lot of abuse from your partner, and you become hyper alert to everything that that person does. So keep in mind that this is a process of being victim in a consecutive domestic abuse, when the person becomes alert to whatever happened to that partner. So let's say they get to identify every time he dressed that way, something is going to happen. Every time he behaves some way, something is going to happen. Every time she dressed some or her voice is different, something is going to happen. And that's how lawyers and experts help defense lawyers of saying, hey, this is the process that it happens, battered woman syndrome, which it changed to battered person syndrome because also men can suffer from this. And that's when things like that, not saying this case, but other cases, can end up in somebody dead, because the person that is suffering from the syndrome, it's like it is having PTSD, right? It's like when you identify something, you feel that your life is in danger and you react to it. And keep in mind that these people are also like, this abuse is happened to them. So it's like a surreal world that it's only in their head, because or in their, in their environment, the way they see it, because they're the one who suffer it. Okay. So I just want to give you a little bit of light of, if that was the case with her, was, it's not in that case.
No, just to comment on what you said, 'cause, like you said, this is what's going on in their world. I have clients that sit here and tell me what's going on, and I've heard things like this. And it's hard to judge that in their world, this is happening to them. This could easily be equal to the worst thing that you could ever imagine that could happen to you in your life. And if the worst thing that's happening to you ever in your life that you could imagine, how would you react to it? So, this battered woman syndrome, defense, battered person concept, it's very tough to navigate in the court. It's not favorable. It usually doesn't work. I got to tell you the truth. It usually doesn't work, but it's a very real deep thing. And professionals like the therapists here, do better job for society than the defense attorneys do. Once this stuff gets to us, I'll tell you the truth. It's a defense that's just very, it's a heartbreaking defense, because it's happening, but in that court of law, what's happening there, I gotta say, man, the prosecution and the people are usually looking for blood. So, you find yourself in that room in front of those humans. Human history shows people like sacrificing others. So get help. Get help before you get there. That's the PSA. Get the help first before you get there, because not the best lawyer is not going to do nothing for you.
Okay, thank you, Derek. So let's now go to Mr. Jorge. Like I said, now we're going to watch Mr. Jorge. How was his life with her, the relationship? We get to humanize him more, because what we saw was just one part of what he suffered. But now we're going to be able to see him and his struggle and his relationships.
Let's.
Lots of money, a little competition. Why would you not want to make money with this app? That app is called Auto.
You're slurring your words. You're sleeping up against the door right now.
Yeah, so
Are you to not bother me?
yes, ma'am.
So what is it you come up and do? What time is it right now? It's 1:20 a.m.
I haven't bothered you since then.
But didn't I tell you before at 9:30 to not bother me at all?
Yes.
Because you like,
Yeah, so what's wrong?
no. Because since 4 a.m. yesterday, when you fucked with me.
Yes, let's-
I know how much vodka was in that bottle. And what's the bottle now?
Kind of to throw it out.
What's that mean?
1 3.
The bottle's empty. I know how much vodka was in there. And then for two people to have a really good time. And who drank it? I want it to be documented that I'm blaming you, which means that you're getting help. You're getting help. You're getting help.
Nobody's even nobody. Stop.
And the reason why you were downstairs and weak enough to get drunk was because you don't give a shit about me. You don't listen to what I say. Things that I keep on my front page of my phone, so I remember to remember to tell you about it because how special and fun it is. I always bother you. I always bore you. You don't listen to me. Yesterday was my first day at work, remember? And now you're at 90% hearing about your day and 10% about mine.
You don't bother me. So sometimes you just you overwhelm me. That's you overwhelm me.
I tell you about my first day at work.
No, you just overwhelm me about things. Just pretty damn important.
So I'm overwhelming you by telling you about the 4 times played baseball player.
I'm gonna start stuff.
I don't even know who the guy is.
Now let me comment. Let me add a reaction here. You know what's on my mind, looking at what's going on here, and of course it's just like a sad, depressing situation because we all know where Jorge, this gentleman ends up, how his life ends. So when you look at it now, what's going on with him there, you know, whether it's drug use, alcohol use, coupled with mental health problems, I think obviously there's something bad, something wrong with him, right? It doesn't look like there's something normal happening. And you know, was it the theory? You know, tell me if you know, was it the theory in the case that when he went in the briefcase, he was still awake, like he was actually like conscious when he went in the briefcase? Is that what happened in the trial?
Well, actually, they never discussed that, to be honest. They never went in, you know, they didn't go to exactly what happened from the prosecutor of how he got in there. They still wondering because she was the only one there, so they don't know.
I gotta tell you, when I see him like that, it's hard for me to believe that he went in that briefcase like awake, you know, like conscious. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he was knocked out on drugs or alcohol. You know, when people get knocked out that bad on drugs and alcohol, you know, he's obviously very skinny and very light. I think she could have just pushed him into that luggage and zippered it, and then maybe he woke up. Maybe he woke up in the luggage, but like even seeing him that way, it's hard for me to believe that he was awake and conscious when he wrapped himself up like this, right? He had to be in a little ball to get in the luggage. So, you know,
I always thought she was the one who put him in there. I think that she either knocked him out, like, you know, that he had in his head something. So I think that now that I know about the bat and all that stuff, I think that she knocked him out with the bat, put him in the suitcase.
And he woke up.
And then he woke up, or she woke him up by hitting him with the bat.
Oh, shit.
That's what I think it happened. because I don't see him going in there. And the way he was talking, he was conscious. So I don't see him going in there.
Yeah.
He was in a stage of, because this is a person that you could see that has normalized drugs use. So his body has been used to it. To, I don't know. To me, she put him in the suitcase. Mhm.
All right, let's look a little bit more at Jorge. Rest in peace.
You
Let's go.
fully admit now that you didn't care and you did brush me off in the car. We midway through this because you're not in baseball.
Well, I'm just saying.
I want to go to sleep. Don't do this. I'm beating you. And I'm going to try to cancel playing tickets.
No.
Because I do special things for people like you. Like, to me, after I got me, at 1:21 in the morning, I wanted to be asleep. I wanted to stay asleep, which is why I told you not to step foot in the bedroom. So what do? Nonetheless, you're drunk. See, that's all. I know how much you talk about. That's why you're.
Let me ask you, and let me comment here, because this is very it's weighing on my mind too, and in your area, in your expertise, what does it say to you, the fact that she's recording this? Because this happens, right? People, this is the most common thing. There's abuse going on. Somebody's yelling at somebody. That's just right, but she's recording it, right? So I have, the past 10 years, I've had hundreds of clients in the what is domestic violence court and criminal court, where one way or the other is being described to me, that type of abuse. But I got to tell you, I don't remember the last time they were recording the abuse like that. So what does that say about her mentality, about who she is? Like, what does come out to you?
That since the beginning, I told you that she seems to have some traits of, she enjoys those things. So I think what she do is gaslighting him. I think she records him in order to have control of him. She will say, like, look what you do. Look what you do when you do this. And then she will also add to him other things that it might not happen, but that's the way she can control him. So I think also that because she has the control of him, she wants to have evidence of what she's doing right now and saying, look how he behaves. He do this, he do that. So she have the proof of what's happening in the relationship. But in my view, and what I'm gathering about all this, she has narcissistic traits, which this is what people do. They enjoy control. People that have these traits or this type of personality, they get, when you get excited about something like traveling or I don't know, doing, for example, I enjoy doing videos like this and watch all those things. That made me enjoy that, right? And studying and think about it and all that stuff. These people enjoy this type of behavior, the control, the gaslighting. So that's what I can say, that it's happening to her brain.
You know what? In the streets, in real life, that's called she's sick in the head. She's a sick person. It should have never gone to this. It's hard to blame anybody, but I promise you, in these scenarios, there's people around this that regret not speaking up, that regret not intervening with this, because this didn't happen overnight, right? Look,
Yes. But you know what, Derek? Unfortunately, that is the hardest, even for us as therapists and psychologists and all these people that works in mental health. Domestic violence are the worst people to have those changes and see the world.
It's hard, huh? It's the hardest one.
Because they're adults, even their family, unfortunately. What they could do, I mean, there's not much you could do that keep there for them, be supportive to them. But at the end of the day, even the law, you can tell me more. If it would be my father or my brother, what can I do? what, how can I prevent him to fall there if he wants to be there? So that's
Yeah.
the challenge. That's
No.
really the challenge that the family has. So let's go now that we kind of got a little bit of what happened. Let's see a little bit more of another video that was presented of her and him. Let me show you here and get your reaction of another portion of him.
Not gonna have no Hindenburg situation, no Titanic situation, okay? It's gonna be good. Yes, I'm like my mama said. And later on, everything is gonna go off. Truth, facts. Truth and facts. All of this is gonna be mentioned later on. We'll take another video again later on when it happens. Love y'all for we're watching this video.
No, that's not true.
The FDA says it's approved.
So it's gonna be a good day all day.
Yes, it is. Even when I shave all of
All
this.
day.
Yes. Even when I shave all of this.
All day.
It's gonna be an amazing day.
It's what time right now?
Shaboing boing.
Say 9:30. 7 o'clock meeting.
Shaboing boing. That's what we're doing later. Shaboing boing. You can stop filming now.
Not good enough.
It's gonna be a great day. Today's a great day to have a great day. Good. Somebody come in with the. Can somebody come in with the. Hey, now.
This another glimpse of Mr. Jorge. How was the relationship? Things that she would do to him. Keep in mind again that prosecutor show this so people can see how the relationship was and kind of humanize him a little bit and how he would get alone with all this process. Because if she's saying she was so scared of him, how is it that she also recording him and you saw how she was doing that there? Like, it's not good enough. Like, no one that it's afraid of someone else would do something like that. So let's keep on.
Ladies and gentlemen, say no to drugs. Stay away from drugs. Stay away from heroin, fentanyl, heroin, opioids. This is just a complete tragedy. I see a lot more in that video than what the prosecutors are trying to do. Early in my career, I had the privilege of working, of being an attorney, working with a drug rehab center here in Miami, down in Miami, Florida. One of the leading drug rehabilitation centers in South Florida, and I had the privilege of working hand in hand with the owner and the owner's sons, with their legal matters, of course. But having to go in the facility, having access, even when I would just go for a meeting with my client, one of the owners, and you see the classes that they have and the way these groups are, it's a real thing. People don't understand that only the next person next to you or one person apart is suffering from drug use and things like that. So when I looked at that video from Mr. Jorge, I said, it's a damaged human because of drugs.
Sadly, you were right on point. It's very sad. And he seems to be a young guy too. Like, he's not that old, and you can see how much his body is, like, everything about him got to him with the drugs.
Crack is whack.
Crack is whack.
It's like one of the nights when I go to shit.
It's survival. People try to survive life, in between just, a struggle and drugs and poverty, and just you could go on and on when you really pay attention to these videos. It's just a heartbreaking thing.
So let's watch the last one. Something that I want to remark is, again, you see how she again is recording him and kind of taunting him. So you could see that pattern when he was in the suitcase and she was taunting him. You could see it here as well, right? To be like this person that was afraid of him.
Sirens, 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 and silence and silence. And this cop car.
Haven't you did an umbrella and come and communicate that?
Yeah, how about we forget about it? No, how about we keep going on? Okay, how about this? When beautiful Lucas is here, we don't listen to none of that. I don't want to hear silence. It's just beep, 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 all that. Yeah, whatever. I want to connect every single day. Beeping and we hear enough of it. Out here in reality.
Are you doing that tonight?
Yes. Yes. I promise you, I look at you.
Go for a walk.
By myself?
Yes.
No.
Go for a walk.
Come chill out. If that's the case, I'll just chill out. So much place.
Don't ever be a woman.
Can I be a woman?
Don't ever.
Can't. But I can, some will understand.
Don't ever.
I can somewhat understand. Some will understand. I can somewhat understand, yes, where you're coming from. But when you have a child and it's like right now, this is too much. But we have a black with them. Amazing.
Then you got all sorts. Pushed me. You stole my phone and told her.
Why is that?
You pushed me.
I pushed you. I didn't push you. How do I get out of the source all of a sudden? I don't want to hear it.
You drink too much and you're upset. Go get your fuck card shit.
What are you talking about?
Your retard paper. Don't hit women.
Have I hit you? No. So where are you going with it?
I'm trying to resolve.
Tell whatever else you have off. I get it. You can film me, take a picture, or whatever you want.
You're
I'm not doing,
No,
I'm not doing anything to you.
no, I never.
So that's what
So,
we
so she's approaching him, but she's trying to record him because he did something to her, right? That's what I'm getting out of this conversation. Is that what you're getting from what you hear them saying?
Well, that's what she's trying to do. But if you listen to him, he's saying, "I didn't do that to you." So at this point, like we cannot, there's not even the evidence that we have from her marks and all that. It's something that she has. So we don't know where she got that from in the sense of if we can believe that, which I believe it, but there's no fact is what she's saying. But in this video, I would say that it's both things. Like she's saying you did this to me, but he also is saying I never did that to you.
Crack is whack. Stay away from drugs.
Yes, Derek, that's the best advice. It's sad. Like it would take literally your life. If he wouldn't be, I'm not blaming the victim, but if he wouldn't be in this, how he was, he would be able to make better choices.
Life is
So-
life. You find yourself where you put yourself in life. Nobody deserves to die in a briefcase, but crack is whack.
Crack is whack. That's right. Well, that's what we have for Sarah Boone. This is it. It was
This
like
is it. This is it. So tonight, this is the last time. I should probably have a nightmare about this case. Is that what you're telling me, Gina?
That's what I'm telling you. It's over. Sarah Boone case is over. She was found guilty. It was a very fast verdict. So,
ladies and gentlemen, there's one thing that I want to say as a defense lawyer, any lawyer in the United States, we do have one of the best systems of justice, and justice was done for this man that died at the hands of Sarah Boone. We have to believe in the justice system. It was swift, it was to the point, and she is exactly where she belongs. So, once again, thank you guys for joining us in another episode of The Therapist and the Lawyer. We look forward to coming back next week and just continuing with one case after the other. Reality is more crazier than fiction, so keep tuning in. The community is great. I thank the therapist for her time, and I'll be back again. Thank you.
bye. Don't remember, like and subscribe.
Yeah. Hey, I think we're getting